Let me go ahead and talk about Divorce Corp here. How were you approached to narrate this project, and why were you attracted to it?
I was approached by a team whom I have tremendous respect for. In fact, one of the principals is a surgeon who became a biotech guy who now is trying to create media, which is going to do good, which is absolutely my professional mission. And so I was immediately attracted to them, and then they told me about this project, and I've always been about how finding ways to increase the health of families and relationships and create environments for children that are healthy. I mean, this is, if you want to look at Adam and I on Loveline over the years always said the same thing. The biggest problem I think we're dealing with all the time is screwed up people having screwed up kids. Come on now. And part of that is divorce and running to divorce and the dysfunction of divorce. And so this industry that we expose in this documentary is so disturbing that my hope is that it will at least decrease the probability that somebody will run to the courts or to attorneys, and may increase the probability they'll stay committed, work things out, and maybe use a little mental health service as opposed to the legal this family court system, which, by the way, is outside of your constitutional privilege. It's a system that really exists and feeds to serve itself, and not much else.
Now, are divorces really a financial epidemic? Because it seems like in the documentary it's just using a lot of extreme examples.
Well, of course. I mean, you're telling the stories of how bad it can get. I mean, it's storytelling. I wouldn't say that those examples are epidemic, but you see, we show you the data of how much money is spent and lost and squandered on the system.
But I mean, for example, I read somewhere recently, our so-called Great Recession actually caused the divorce rates to fall. Isn't increasing costs for divorces actually saving marriages?
That's an interesting question. I've not. Is the increasing cost of? I would say not at this point. However, if people were more aware of those costs, I believe it might. That's a very interesting question. As I think about, reforming the divorce courts, which I think is an important thing, you make an interesting point. But I don't think people go in understanding how it's going to burden them.
I mean, for example, I had a couple friends who were going through divorces, and I guess their bills ran up to $20,000, and once they ran out of money, they actually reconciled and they stayed married again.
Oh, that's interesting. So there you go. So in certain cases, it has an interesting sort of positive spin to it. Wouldn't it be better if they just saved their money and put it in a college fund for their kids and maybe saw a couples counselor for a couple of weeks? Wouldn't that have been a better move?
Yeah, that's true. But why do you think a lot of people are heading down this route of divorces rather than going to counseling sessions or anything else? Is it just because we're not promoting it?
That's a complicated question. I mean, let me just sort of give you a blush on it, which is that people who come from divorce are more likely to carry out a divorce, which is something people should be aware of, and they should have some counseling about that, because the traumas of our past, the way the human being is wired, is that when something is unpleasant and traumatizing in our childhood, magically, and I use that in quotes, we're highly probable to reenact that trauma in our adult life. Even when we are committed consciously to not doing so, we end up doing it, because it's an emotional construct that needs sort of rewiring in some sort of psychotherapeutic process. And so there's that. There's also the unbelievable incidents and how common trauma is, interpersonal trauma. That makes relationships unstable. There is the ease of divorce and the lack of understanding what a commitment is and how to move through adversity, and understanding that children need that in order to be healthy themselves, sustained essentially across a developmental span into adulthood.
Now, speaking of ease, one of the things that this documentary looked at was the Scandinavian model.
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't the Scandinavian model actually make makes divorce a lot easier and better? Wouldn't that type of model encourage divorces rather than marriages?
Yeah, and that's really not the point of looking at the point of looking at Scandinavia is not saying we need to adopt that. It's saying that it's possible to do it without all this burden, and that there are ways to go about this without squandering people's money on an industry that serves its own needs. That's the point. I personally don't think we should adopt something like that. I think maybe other ways to make divorce more difficult or more to put forces in place that make it less likely to occur without having an industry that is serving itself.
Now, the film seems to be a little bit anti-lawyerish. I mean, one of the solutions would be like tort reform. Isn't that like very counterproductive? It will never happen here in America, would it?
I think tort reform has to happen in many ways. It has happened in the medical system to some extent, not fully yet, and it's had a clearly positive effect. So, yes, tort reform is something that I think is a reasonable idea, and we have a system where it's possible. Whether it will happen is another matter.
So, what would you suggest that should actually happen? Like, are you talking about like limits or?
Well, I mean, for instance, there should, just the way doctors can't take kickbacks from drug companies or from, say, radiology centers. They can't own radiology centers that they send their patients to get x-rays done. You can't do that. Judges shouldn't be able to work for the attorneys that present before their courts. That's a real simple solution right there. Judges shouldn't be allowed to then join the law firms that were in front of their court. These are very simple sorts of reasonable changes that, by the way, the attorneys mandated on physicians many decades ago. Not a bad idea. We adopted it. It's time for them to adopt the same stuff they're putting on other people.
Yeah, but aren't like lawyers are the one who write these laws, so that's why tort reform won't happen?
No, that's a pessimistic point of view. I mean, okay. I do believe we have a country where people and when the plebiscite, the populace does have some power, some ability to make change.
Yeah, that is you're right. That is a pessimistic view.
And you may be right, by the way, but I just don't like to think of it that. I really do believe in our system, and it's slow and it's cumbersome and it makes bad turns once in a while. But I do believe in that I think this country generally we ultimately work things out to the benefit of most of us. But we can go sideways for a while.
Now, so with the system in place, the one thing I never understood is if people actually agreed to divorces and they agreed to settlements, why are there so many hoops for them just to get it settled? I mean, if both parties, I don't really understand. Having never gone through it, and God willing, never will. I don't really understand that either. I think that's the point: is that there are benefits to the attorneys and benefits to the evaluators, and they encourage people to fight. They encourage people to be oppositional to their. You must know people have been through this, that they can't believe sometimes what their spouses say in the courtroom. Abject lying. Uh-huh. And by the way, this again because the court itself is outside of your constitutional rights. So there's no constitution operating. It's a family. It's not really court in the way that the Constitution sees the court operation in the legal court, in the criminal system. And so lying and things like that are inevitably encouraged. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't seem like a perfect system. So no, well, it's a flawed system, and again there are a few tweaks. Where it's not so able. Forget the fact that we can argue all day about should it be really easy or should it be should it be like Scandinavia or not, but just some ethical guidelines that have the force of law. Just requiring them to behave ethically would have a rather dramatic effect, I would think. Yeah, no, I agree with that. So what other solutions do you think couples should do rather than entering into like a divorce quagmire? Well, listen, I have, we have triplets and we've been married almost 25 years, and
We use mental health services all along the way. Not expensive ones, not necessarily long-sustained ones, and every time we needed help, it paid dividends. I mean, it's stressful to raise 3 kids. Rather than heading for the door, we reached out for help, and it paid off every single time. And that's what people need to learn. Listen, we have universal health coverage now. Mental health parity is part of the deal. We should be oriented towards understanding that these things can be helped. You can reduce the probability of the relationship splitting up, and increase the probability of it being satisfying.
When you talk about like mental health, because a lot of people aren't familiar with this or try to admit to mental health, are you talking about like therapists and psychologists?
Yeah, mental health professionals, people licensed mental health professionals.
Now, but isn't going that route also expensive? That's why a lot of people don't go that way.
Well, that's my point. Is that we would reach out periodically, and we would not go to extensive. We're not talking about hospitalization. We're talking about sitting in a therapist's office once or twice a week for a couple of months. And we now have mental health parity, where that stuff is going to have to be covered by the insurances that we all now have to have.
Yeah.
So don't think about it as expensive as what I'm suggesting.
Oh, okay, I see. So obviously, with this avenue now being open, especially for next year, we should educate the populace to go in that route rather than divorces.
Precisely.
Great. Now, I mean, personally, after watching this documentary, I mean, I'm not married, but it scares me to even ever get married.
Well, and there was a rather chilling comment by one of the attorneys who said that the major cause of divorce is marriage, and I think that was an extremely sort of pessimistic statement, and I would say the major cause is previous divorce or dysfunctional families or unstable relationships, and we should be really talking about, and humans need, we are social animals. We need connection with other people, and the more healthier those relationships are, the one thing we can say objectively, the happier people are, the more meaning they get from life, and we've lost track of that, particularly in this country, and I think divorce is one symptom of it.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, I mean, I have savings, I have a pension. I mean, this just basically makes me paranoid if there's a 50-50 chance. But you're saying that this is much more of a experience and everything. I never gone through any of that type of experience, so I should be okay then, right?
You should be. Well, at my assessment of your circumstances and the minute of evaluation you have had here, yes, I'd say you'll be okay.
Okay, terrific. Okay, well, anyways, you gave me a load of information during this interview. I thank you very much. Is there any projects that you could talk about? If not, then it's okay.
I'm really spending a lot of time on my HLN show right now. We're trying to make that a more interesting. We're trying to redefine news in certain ways and really, just do things a little differently. And I have a good time trying to figure that out.
Okay, terrific. Hey, yep. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
You got it.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.